Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Wild Woman Podcast. And I have another beautiful wild woman with me today, all the way from sunny California, I'm assuming. It's not sunny here on the west coast of Ireland, and I'm deeply grateful. It's just been another beautiful, I say it at the start of every podcast, how every woman, but I will keep saying it, has been guided to me, to us, to all of us, to you listeners with wisdom to share. And I just am experiencing how we're all being connected um, right now. And there's just something very special happening on the planet. And it can be, I mentioned this in a little video I did the other day about riding the roller coaster, because it's a bit of a roller coaster too. And I think the more we talk about that and just that, just feeling it all, they're the words that always come to me, just feel it all and ride the waves. um, More of us and more my how I'm experiencing it, and I just say it because I think it'll be part of the conversation with my guest, is many exiled and abandoned and parts of myself are coming back home. That's how it feels. And I feel it in my voice. I'm feeling it in my body. I had a woman contact me recently full of a lot of anxiety, and she was just talking about what's happening. It just feels like I don't know myself anymore. And I said, well, I'm with you. I'm going through it too. So I just think it's a really, really important time that we share this and support each other. I just feel and hold each other's hands, because there is something really powerful and really beautiful happening. And it's an amazing time to be alive, even with the challenges. They're part of it. So just without further ado, I will say hello and welcome my guest. Her name is Martha Alter Hines. As I said, she's in California. She's a mom, she's an astrologer, she's a healer, she's a channel, and she's a spiritual mentor. And some beautiful words she wrote. The world is in crisis, and you are part of the solution in big or little ways. Each of us is needed now to be exactly all of who we are. And Martha is here to support each of us to remember that fully, each in our own way. And I think, what more beautiful work could you be doing in the world? Welcome, Martha. And oh, she's a fellow Piscean, so that's always nice to connect in the ocean. Welcome, Martha. Really grateful that you're here.
Thank you. You're making me cry.
Wow. Oh no, it's so beautiful. Can I just touch this? I had listened to another interview you gave, and there was various parts of it. But I think for many people, what can be challenging is making sense maybe of the life they lived, where they're going, how to navigate, through, I suppose, their own experience. Like I was saying to you before we hit record, I had many shifts and changes in my life, and many challenging moments that were sort of rattling me out of my old life. Um, how has that been experienced for you, I suppose? Just can you talk a little bit maybe of what has led you to now, and maybe some key moments maybe to focus on, because I know that's a big question, that were rattling you, and maybe, yeah, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah. Obviously there's many ways I can answer that, so guide me if you want me to say
Okay.
something differently. But um yeah, well, I would say it feels important to name that I was born in Thailand. So I live in California. I've been here for 22 years, but that's the longest I've ever lived anywhere. So my family is very international, and so I was born in Thailand, and I grew up in Bangladesh, Pakistan, Kenya, and right outside of Washington, D.C. in the United States. And so that's pretty fundamental to how I experience life. Um, and then when I went to college, went to graduate school, and I became a psychotherapist, and I worked in primarily in the child welfare system, in Washington, inner city Washington, D.C., and then here in California, working with children and families. who were, big crisis. I'd specialized in trauma treatment and attachment and that kind of thing. And then I would say one of the fundamental shift moments for me was 2018, when I was I was a supervisor in the child welfare system here, and I was doing this very intense job, very, kind of cutting edge, trying to really work with families to not take their children, essentially. It was very, very, very difficult job, but I also was very passionate about it. And I had an experience where a circle of 8 beings came to me and told me I was going to need to leave my job and start channeling, and that what I was going to channel was going to become the platform for what they needed me to do next. So I was I am, and I was then a single mom, uh, supporting my children on my own. So that was a little nerve-wracking, to say the least. Um, and yeah, long story short, a year later, I did leave that job. Well, okay, sorry. So that the circle of 8 spirits came to me in April of 2018, and I did start channeling that summer. So a month or two later, for the first time, I started to channel, and then the spirits had me channel the first book in the series of 8 books. Actually, here's that book right here. It's called Living the One Light. Yeah, so that was in September of 2018. That book came through, and then in June of 2019, so 9 months later, I did end up leaving my job, and then the spirits channeled the second and the third in that series of 8 books, Gaia Speaks and Cosmos Speaks. So anyway, so that whole period rattled me for sure.
Oh,
Absolutely, no doubt. And also in the middle of all of that, in the summer of 2018, I I also started having a really, really, really powerful awakening experience. So I I in my 20s, when I was in college, actually, yeah, my very early 20s, I learned Reiki, and that was sort of the catalyst for, I would say, you could say, my past life essence, abilities to start coming back through into my body, and me remembering all these abilities that I have probably had in most of my lifetimes, like a lot of us, right? And that kept waking up through my 20s. So there was a period of about 5 years where at the end of my 20s, I took a break from social work and I went to massage school, and I was a massage therapist. And so all these abilities started waking back up in my body, like the ability to see inside people's bodies, the ability to see past lives, the ability to see spirits, so many things just went boom, right?
wow.
But then,
That must have
sorry, go
been
ahead.
pretty scary. Like how that must have been pretty, yeah, scary. I'm just thinking of someone who might be experiencing that now. And,
Oh,
ability start was that a whole new experience for you? Or had you experienced something like that when you were younger?
it wasn't scary for me. It was more confusing and a little bit lonely. I didn't know anyone else who had those abilities. And so um, yeah, I wished and wished and wished and wished to find other people. I still wish to find people who have, there's certain abilities I have that I know, plenty of us see spirits and all of that kind of thing. But there are certain abilities I had and have with my hands, like to be able to see inside the body, see the meridians, see the organs. It's like my hands become like a MRI machine or like a CAT scan.
Yes.
Yeah, and I can see precisely, um, anatomically, like precisely correctly what's going on in the body. And I don't know I don't know. I haven't found, if anybody's out there who has those abilities or knows someone, please tell me. I would
I
really
have a
love to know
feeling you could have a deluge of people contacting you after listening to this going, what?
No, no,
He's a
no, no, no.
walking
I don't,
MRI
but
machine.
no, I should put a big sign up saying I don't do that, professionally though. That's not what I do. It's not what I offer.
Yes.
But that ability is there. And yeah, so it was more of just a um confusion, like, wow, this is really undeniable, because I would be with a client, I would be seeing what's going on in their body, and then I would go with them to the doctor or the chiropractor, and they would get an x-ray, um, and it was showing precisely what I was seeing. I was like, wait, what is going on? What is this? Yeah, very uncanny, and many uncanny kind of healing things were happening with my clients, just wow, like, what is this? So yeah, so by the time, oh, did you want to say something,
Sorry,
or?
no, no, no. I was going to say, were you working as a social worker at this time then?
No, so
You've
sorry,
moved
I'm
on. Sorry.
jumping
Yeah.
back and forth
Okay.
timeline.
Okay.
Yeah, so at this moment that I'm talking about, I was working as a massage therapist.
Okay.
So I would, yeah,
Yes.
I did not put my hands on people when I was a social worker. No.
Yes. 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 Sorry. Sorry. Yes.
Never,
Just to make that
never,
clear.
not one single
Yes.
time. No.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so when I was a massage therapist, all these things started coming
Sure.
back awake. Yeah. And then when I was in my around age, well, when I was 29, I had my first child. And then when they were 1 year old, so when I was about 30, 31, I went back to social work. So then I became a psychotherapist in a local nonprofit. And yeah, so then I left behind the massage therapy mostly. So then when I went back into social work, I really closeted this whole side of myself. And when you fast forward to 2018, when I had that circle of 8 spirits come to me, I had really I had my spiritual side, quote unquote, and I had my um social work side, you could say. And I didn't talk about the spiritual side to anybody except maybe less than a handful. I mean, maybe 3 people in the whole world that I was really honest about it with. So, um so it was a very big deal that suddenly in 2018 I was starting to channel, and I knew that I had these abilities. I knew that there was this powerful set of gifts that I was meant to bring through it for the world, but I had no idea how it would happen. I had no idea when. I couldn't even really imagine what that would be like. I had a sense for many years, I had a feeling that something about my mid 40s would be really significant. Like at one point, my guide said, yeah, when you're about 45, this is when it'll actually, your world will be very different and you'll be living more of that life, which came true. That was true. Now I'm 48. So, um, yeah, by the time I was 45 was pretty much precisely when I really came into the world, fully in this way.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'll stop there because I could say
Yeah.
so many other things, but I think that
Wow.
gives you a
Well,
sense
that's a
of,
fairly an experience of being rattled or,
yeah,
into
yeah.
something new. Do you feel that that has to happen to us in some way for us to go on this journey of remembering who we are?
No, I really don't actually. I think for many of us, this awakening experience does happen in that way, but no, I actually feel like I feel very passionately that the answer is no.
Okay,
because
good. Okay,
because
because
I
often
think
I hear
that's
yes. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
I think that's a big part of what a lot of us are here to do who have gone through that kind of awakening. At least I speak for myself. I think I'm here largely to soften the way, to be a presence, um, to help. Like, let's say there's an earthquake happening. That's the image I'm getting, is like if there's an
Yes.
earthquake happening, and which I think in a lot of ways there is, and Gaia is waking herself back up and she's helping us all to wake back up. Um, I think a lot of us have gotten shaken awake, but because there are a good number of us now relatively awake and conscious, I think at least part of my role is to be a steady, calming presence, right? So that so that the awakening experience does not need to be traumatic. It does not.
Mhm.
No. It's like if do you know Jude Currivan? Are you familiar with her?
Heard, yeah, I've heard of her.
Yeah,
Just yeah, yeah.
I love her. And so she talks about I don't want to misquote her, but essentially she says something like, it's like we've been in this horrible nightmare and in this time of forgetting, right? And now we're waking back out of a nightmare. So I often think of this time and a lot of our role as being, it's like we've been let's say a child in having a nightmare, and now we're waking up, and that can be terrorizing, right? Like it can feel so scary to be waking out of a nightmare. But the good news is that a lot of us already are conscious of this process going on. So we can be the parent, or we can be the friend, or whatever it is, holding the child saying, it's okay. You just had a bad nightmare and I'm right here. Like we're
Mm,
doing this together. It's okay. Like I'm gonna hold you as you wake up. So yeah, essentially that's me. That I mean that's what I'm here. That's what I do. And I think that's what a lot of us now can do. So it does not need to feel scary. It sometimes it
awesome.
is scary, but
Yeah,
I know, yeah, I feel really passionately that it can be gentle, it can be easeful, it can be, just a remembering, like a literal, oh wow, here I am. Okay, this is me.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I suppose, yeah, and even thank you. That's really lovely to hear. I suppose I was saying to you before we hit record about the experience of cancer. So, you can look at that and say, oh my God, that's really traumatic, as many things are. It could be a marriage breakdown, loss of a job, someone dies, all of these. I suppose they're parts of life that happen. But the irony of that is that, and I was saying that to you, it ended up being the most peaceful, gentle time of my life. And that might sound strange to some people listening, going, but my God, cancer is so traumatic. But it actually wasn't in one way. I suppose the way we maybe look at it in our world is felt very traumatically, and the way maybe it's treated and approached. And look, that's a personal choice for everyone. But my experience, once I sort of dropped into it, I've often said that it was the holding on of my old life that was really where the suffering lay. And
Yes.
I was in my car one day and I literally was trying to control it all. I'll go to the doctor, then I'll go back to work, then I'll tell this, then I'll do that, then I'll do that. And it was like my hands, I could just feel myself just, my hands came off the wheel. I wasn't driving at the, well, I was sitting in the car and and it was just from that second, it was like this point of surrender. And then
Yeah.
it became, yes, there were ups and downs and difficulties, but overall, in the scheme of life, you know, that feeling of I'm part of something bigger here. I'm held. I think that was the greatest sense. I'm held.
Mm,
I'm
mm,
not,
mm.
and I think it's really, I just think it's very, I've always found that with other people as well, but it's important to share. So I suppose in what, yeah, and you've answered the question, but I suppose there still may be moments that will happen like that, isn't there, for people? But they don't
Oh,
have to be. Of course, they're yeah, life experiences. But it's suppose it's how we look at them, really. We go through them, and then how we can look at them.
yeah.
Where do you feel we are in this process right now? I know you mentioned earthquake, and I know some of us have maybe been rattled before. Where would yeah, how would you describe where we're at right now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think my really honest answer is I have no idea. I mean, I think
We're all
as a human, if I feel like if anybody really gave an answer, it would be wrong. I mean, how do I say it? I think it'd be pretty arrogant, for any human to say, "Oh, I know the answer of what's going on." I I have I have my own sense of what I think maybe is going on, and I know this is what I definitely know. I know what the spirit world says to me moment by moment about my role.
Mhm.
Those are my breadcrumbs. That's the only truth I can be definite about. But given those breadcrumbs, it's like I feel like, the classic parable of the elephant, and we're all blindfolded and we're trying to figure out what this elephant is, and some of us are feeling a toe and some an ear and a tail and all that. So
Mhm.
um I know there's an elephant. I know, or at least I know there's a thing that we think is an elephant. And I can tell you for sure the toes that I'm personally feeling. And then I can hear you and really deeply listen. And I can hear you talk about a tail, you know? So I think that's part of what's going on, is that we're all here. We are the elephant, and we're each being guided in very specific ways. But um based on what I'm told and my little toes being shown to me, um yeah, what the spirit world says to me is in a nutshell, the classic thing that we have been in this time of great forgetting. We're now in the time we now are. And they're very adamant. Not we will be. We are in the time of great remembering right now. And the other thing that they are so clear about, so adamant about, that you and I were talking about a bit before we started recording, is that one of the breadcrumbs of right this moment is that we have have to, um especially those of us raised as girls and women, I think, but I think people raised as boys and men also in their own way, we have to it's like so intensely important. We have to have all of who we are come boom powerfully back right here right now, because we've literally been exiled, right? Like we literally have been, our own souls have been pushed out, and we're done. That is the time of forgetting. Like, we are in the time of great remembering right now, so we have to remember, literally remember ourselves. And part of that is actually, on the one hand, that has been occurring in the time of forgetting because of a victimization of the feminine, and yet super key in my opinion, and what the spirit world says, we need to radically let go of that victim mentality as well, because as we feel like victims, even though we have been, and many people have been, and we've been the perpetrator in addition to the victim. Certainly the victim perpetrator dynamic has gone on for eons. Okay. But when we focus on that, we are still outsourcing our power. So we have to remember that the one and only person who can take back and re-embody ourself is ourself. But nobody, absolutely nobody else can do it for us. So, yeah, just to take radical self-responsibility right now, right now, in this minute,
Yeah,
is, yeah,
yeah.
huge.
And it feels like it's coming fast and furious now. You touched on Martha, we were just saying this before. I'm feeling what I didn't even I under well, I thought I understood what was happening. Okay, there's greater like layers of what I thought I was, and I'm not coming off. Like, I'm seeing things I didn't see. This is for going on for quite a long time, but it feels like a different time, that's happening, but it feels a different phase. Like that, what you said, the parts are coming back in. Maybe this might sound strange to some people listening or not, but it's like something else had to be released first. Like there was like a valve that let some layers off, like a cage, before these parts could come back, is
Yeah.
sort of what I'm feeling. Something else had to happen first. And I can only speak for me. I feel I'm in a different phase that you've put words to now. I really didn't understand it. It's just come. And I'm meeting more women who were speaking something similar. They're just saying, I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm going crazy. and I lost my cool with someone, or this, or I'm saying things, or I'm doing things. So it's really, it just feels like a very different phase. And I don't know, you were talking, we were just said we'd touch, I don't know if the astrological themes of what's happening supports that or gives it maybe a greater, maybe way of understanding it for ourselves. Is there,
Big time. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 How would you talk
So
about that?
yeah, there's many, many components of that, but I can bring in a couple of things. So among many other things, uh, I actually just discovered this yesterday. Fascinating. So as we're recording this in July, the end of July 2025.
Second. Yeah. Mhm.
And I just did an interview yesterday with a friend of mine who is a Buddhist, the Buddhist teacher mentor, and she was actually leading us in a green Tara practice. And so I felt called, I've been feeling the presence of this Tara energy for a few days. And so that's why I reached out to her, because she had taught me this practice before, and it's very powerful, extremely helpful. And I thought, I think other people would benefit. So I reached out to her and we recorded this yesterday. And then I looked right before we recorded, I looked up the Tara asteroid and what's going on with it at the moment. And I realized that right now it's in Leo. And as we're recording this, Mercury is retrograde right now in Leo. So Mercury has just recently passed the asteroid Tara, is now going back, is going to conjunct Tara again in the next probably 2, 3 days, and then we'll go direct, and then we'll pass over Tara yet again. So just in this, so that's a fleeting kind of moment. That's a relatively short-lived thing, but I think that's an example of this very powerful feminine energy that is helping us, I think, ground into the Leo. For me, on the ultimate level, is sacred heart-led leadership, and to have Tara there is, wow, so beautiful. Really, so beautiful. And then another goddess asteroid that's going to be extremely prevalent or in the astrology next year in 2026, fascinatingly, is the asteroid Lilith. So yeah, so two of the major transits of 2026 are number one is the Saturn Neptune conjunction that's happening on February 20th, 2026. So everybody's talking about that, right? That's a gigantic deal, because it's very rare that Saturn and Neptune come together, but it's even more. I mean, I don't know when this would have happened previously. It's extremely rare that they're coming together at 0 degrees of Aries. That's the first degree of the entire zodiac. It's a big,
Wow.
big, big deal. And one way I I think of that Saturn Neptune conjunction in general is um like an energetic of the start of um our co-creation of the structures of the divine in form. Like, in other words, translation, I can see that maybe as an energy supporting us to really bring into form this thing we're calling New Earth. Like, what is that? What is that? What do we mean when we say that? Like, to make it really concrete, but infused with Neptune. It's, Saturn and Neptune joining. So Saturn being the structures of this world, Neptune being the divine. It's like the divine co-creating with Earth, in a sense. And what's okay, so there's that big transit.
Mhm.
That's February 20th, 2026. And then the other gigantic transit in 2026 is, I think it's June 10th. I have to look at June 11th, something like that. Uranus will be exactly squaring the nodes of the moon at 2 degrees. Uranus will be at 2 degrees of Gemini. So, okay, so at both of those major transits of 2026, Lilith, the asteroid, will be exactly conjunct both of them. So Lilith will enter it, go to 0 degrees of Aries. I think it's one day before the Saturn Neptune conjunction. It's right around it. Oh no, no, it's I think it's Lilith enters uh Aries on February 12th, something like that. Anyway, she's in other words, she's right there with Saturn and Neptune as they come together, precisely. Okay. And then she is precisely conjunct Uranus when Uranus squares the nodes of the moon next year. So there's this, again, this powerful feminine energy riding along with the two biggest transits of 2026 saying, hey, look, if anybody's not familiar with the Lilith story, essentially, she's the first wife of Adam, quote unquote, and she wants to be an equal to Adam, and he says, "No, I want you to lie down, and be subservient." I mean, I'm giving a
Yeah.
simplified version maybe, but and so then she becomes exiled from the Garden of Eden and leaves and is then dubbed, the devil and evil something something, and she's eating children and all these patriarchal, untrue stories. Um, and and so then in my conception, my feeling about Lilith, she in the healthy version of us ourselves as Lilith, we can then be the being who go maybe we're exiled. A lot of us I think we're exiled and literally or energetically. Um so maybe yeah, so maybe we were exiled from the Garden of Eden, quote unquote, but we went away, we found ourselves, we remembered like this. So the being exiled is the time of great forgetting, right? So we went away, but now we have found ourselves, we remembered that we are literally the power of existence. No ifs, ands, or buts, like period, the end. That is what we are. We fully embody that. We take radical responsibility for the fact that that is who we are. Nobody can possibly uh, make us remember that. Nobody can deny it either. We are the only ones who can reclaim it for ourselves. We find that, we reclaim it, we fully re-embody it, and we come back, you know? And then when we come back in this healthy version of Lilith, we don't really need to fight. We don't need to stand up and declare it. It just is who we are. And maybe we will declare it, and maybe we will sometimes absolutely say no. We have a very clear sacred no and a very clear sacred yes, and we just are, right? So that healthy, embodied, mature version of Lilith, that's what I think we have the opportunity to be in these transits when Lilith next year is so powerfully present.
Wow, I can feel that. I can feel that. Oh my God, that just puts such yeah, it just really helps explain, yeah, I think what many of us are experiencing and don't know. I think that's the beauty of astrology. As you said, we can't say anyone fully knows what's on, but you're getting the themes of the energies, really, isn't it? And what's wafting in, what's wafting into us. When we remember, and as you said, I know that I love that, a sacred no and a sacred yes. And maybe there's that sort of awkward period, maybe as these pieces come back in and like, oh, I feel different. Um, I suppose a couple of questions there, how we can support ourselves through this, because it still feels like there is still a resistance, I don't know, in some way to that happening still, that I suppose is maybe falling away, but it feels like it's still there. I don't mean like putting up a fight, but there's some feeling of that. Do you, and so how we support ourselves through it, and then when that's embodied and we get into next year, and what can that look like in the world, like for a woman who is really embodying that and has really owned it? What can it look like so that we can start to maybe, oh, I'm getting chills, have some sort of vision, or yeah, of what that might be like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I'll come to the second part because that I feel like I'm really excited about that second question.
Mm.
Because I don't know the answer, and I think that but that's what we want. That's the word. That's our new Earth, right? That is us. Like that is what we're doing. Exactly that. Um, so let's come back to that in one second. I would love your thoughts also. But in terms of the first question, how do we navigate it? Yeah, there's so many different answers, but just in the last few days, actually, I channeled so on my YouTube channel, I my guides told me to channel a video which I did, which anybody can go and listen to, where the title of the video is releasing patterns of fear, something like I can give you the link.
Yeah, I'll
And
put the links in. Yeah.
yeah, so basically what came through in that channeling was exactly what we're talking about here. It's the 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 spirit world was saying that we have, I mean, probably I'm sure there are some exceptions. I'm sure maybe there's somebody listening who this doesn't apply to, but I think this applies to pretty much all of us, that those of us who have lived as beings in many, 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 many lifetimes as healers, as priestesses, as witches, quote unquote, as seers, as all these things that we probably all have been and are, we know that in this time of forgetting, and these eons, centuries, millennia, especially women, people of all genders, but especially women who have been identified in those ways, have been persecuted, have been killed, have been all of it. Okay. So now we come into this lifetime and now we're waking back up to all of who we are. So of course, inevitably, not inevitably, but pretty likely, there's going to be terror as we wake that up, right? And there's going to be incredible fear because on a soul level, even on a cellular level, um, not only from our own experiences, but from the experiences of everybody else on this planet, including our own mothers, grandmothers, great grandma, our ancestry,
Mm.
our DNA is formed from terror, like literal actual terror, right? So one of the crucial components of this moment that I support, that's a part of my role to support people through, is to literally undo, release those patterns, those structures in our DNA system, in our body system, formed from fear, because we don't need it. We just don't need it anymore. It's not supporting us. It did support us and it's not anymore. So in this channeling, one thing that was new to me, that was really helpful to me personally, was the spirits described those patterns like roots, like root systems. And they were saying, these patterns formed in fear were benevolent. Like they're not there to be harmful. They were there to help, right? To help us survive, help us move through that time of forgetting. But now you're in the time of great remembering. And the root systems themselves, just like a tree or a plant, they have a life cycle. And so they came into form in the right timing for when you needed it. And now they have their own divine intelligence, and they know their own divine intelligence recognizes that now the time of their life cycle is to die, is to go away. And so basically the channeling was this, it's like being held in this really healing light to hold ourselves, but also to hold those root systems, those structures, to to be infused with light as they as they die, as they consciously, let themselves die and move on and move out, and then go back to the light. And so I think number one, being really held in the literal releasing, like even on a almost physical, I can feel it so viscerally myself, right? Just that our DNA structures need to be supported to literally undo the old and to come into you could call it the light codes of now, the the immediate the structures of light that we are that are supportive of this time of great remembering. So that's a humongous part of what I do in all of my work. Um, there was one other thing I was going to say, and it's gone out of my mind, so I'll pause right there. But yeah, I don't know.
No, that's wow. Yeah. I mean, everything you're saying, gosh, I'm feeling like I literally feel like you're putting words to what I'm going through. And I think so many of us are. It strikes me then as well, could it be important? Well, it feels for me it is, and I imagine it might be is finding groups like sacred circles. I know you have a beautiful online circle, but even physically, I found myself joining a new women's circle here where I live, which hadn't been there. And it was like this feeling of we need to be held through this, like we really, even physically. I'm often drawn back to when I interviewed a woman about it, the ancient art of keening, which was the ancient art of lament that women in in Ireland, it goes back even through Europe, but it was, for example, when it was a woman's, it was grief, it was an expression of grief. So it was almost a form of like screaming and crying, and it was like just releasing. So if someone died, particularly, they would be brought like it was a profession. They would come to the funeral and it would form part of helping the spirit leave and sending them home, but also helping the congregation release their grief. But that was
Mm.
shut down by the church a long time ago. And we were talking about it in this women's circle that there feels like there is a need, I felt it, to release grief, like really in a very, what's the word, in a very raw, like what you're describing, way, like really viscerally. But where do we do it safely, without being locked up somewhere if someone sees you? But that seems to be quite a big part of it. Like we have to physically, don't we? We have to physically do this, do we? You know, in a sense, like we have to allow that energy out. And I think that's where in our current society and systems, it can be quite hard to find ways. So is a group like that maybe the best way, or how else can we, I suppose, yeah, do that?
Yeah, well, right. I mean, I think, yeah, that's beautiful. And of course, I think there would be so many different things that would be right for each of us. And maybe today one thing would be the right thing, and tomorrow another thing would be the right thing. And I just love that. I love hearing that. Yeah, I I mean, I have so many things running through my mind right now. I think uh I think remembering our indigenous practices, our indigenous ways is absolutely crucial, absolutely key. It's a humongous part of what I hope to be holding space for in the coming years is really deeply hearing and listening to wisdom keepers of those kind of practices and of our our indigeneity of earth. And we are literally earth, right? And that's what I feel when you're describing that, is that that's like Gaia breathing,
Mm.
yeah,
Yes.
in some sense or something. And we've, yeah, again, those practices have literally been exiled, and our languages have been exiled. My family is from the Western Isles of Scotland, and Gaelic
Ah,
speaking.
ah,
Yeah, and I didn't know that. I didn't know that my great grandfather immigrated to the United States from Western Scotland not very long ago. I mean, he's my great grandfather.
yeah, it's
And
not that long ago, yeah.
yeah, and his mother's family, it was native Gaelic speaking. And my mother and I did not know that until 15, 20 years ago, something like that. And now my mom has been studying Scottish Gaelic for many, many years, and can speak it actually relatively well. But that's my native language. And I didn't know that I didn't know that my family, that was true for my family until yeah, I was an adult. Like, what? That's awful, right? That's so true for so many of us. So yeah, so many components of our lineage to Earth have been obliterated, and well, not obliterated. I don't want to say obliterated because they still
Mm,
exist. They're still there. The threads are still there. But
Mm.
that's part of the coming back to who we really are. So a lot of deep listening, I think, is crucial. Like, not only being in the position of being somebody who the wisdom comes through, but also being somebody who holds space for the wisdom to come through everyone else and everything else. That's humongous. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so anyway, there's so many other so many other
All the
things I could
threads
say.
I'm feeling as you're speaking.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Mm.
oh my God, that's what I just, and it's so, I said that to you before this morning, I pulled a card and it was about the spider's web and the weaving. And I was reading, it literally spoke about the ancestors and the sort of weaving of stories and wisdom and all of that, the importance of why it's so important. This is how we sort of, I wouldn't say rebuild or the web of our existence or something. There was some, it still hasn't fully, I read it and went, there's more in this than I fully have taken in. But now that you're speaking, it's like, okay, there's something in this. And the minute you said the word threads there, I was like, yeah, there's something in how we're all piecing. It's so essential that and again, that becomes, it's so essential that we speak because there's something in the words that is can be a remembering for someone else or can be a little bit of a yeah I'm but yeah, there's something that we're weaving all together, but each of us has, yeah, each of us is part of that weaving in our own way, isn't it? And it'll look differently for each person.
Exactly. That, yeah, that was the other component I was going to say is that, yeah, I think each of us, of course, has a particular role. And so I think about, in-person circles like that, and I feel sad because I want that.
Mm.
I actually don't have that for myself even. I mean, I've tried to sort of find it where I live, and it doesn't work. It doesn't click for me.
Yeah.
Or it hasn't. I should say it hasn't so far. But yes, I absolutely feel like we need that. My particular role seems to be, I think someday I will do in-person things, and I used to only do in-person things, right? But there's something in addition to the in-person things, which I absolutely support. I love that this is going on in so many ways, and I would wish for every one of us to have that in-person kind of circle. Absolutely. Um, my particular role seems to be somehow primarily more of the bigger international web. We were talking about this divine web of existence, and what I'm shown for me is that my role is really to be one of the many, many, many of us who are these beings holding the whole time-space continuum, like the Cheroklo energy that Melanie Reinhardt, so beautifully talks about. And so part of what I'm guided to do in that is, like you mentioned, I have this free online community. I just 4 days ago, uh, I now have an app.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's
Necessary
called the
part
Live.
of your work. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're given these tools, so
Yeah, but the app is it's like, on the one hand, the human me goes, "Why do I have an app?" The spirit world is very adamant that I need to have this app. So it's the Living the One Light app. It's free for anyone who's
okay,
interested.
perfect.
And
And you can
it
download
links,
that from the app
yeah, it
stores, I
link it.
presume. Yeah.
It's available literally as of 2 days ago. So
Okay, great. Well, I'll
uh,
add that.
yeah, and so it's meant to be, it's like, so Uranus, has just entered Gemini, and as lots of us know, Uranus entering Gemini definitely, so Uranus will be there until, what is it, 2033, something like that. Be there for several years. And when Uranus is in Gemini, we know we can probably expect a humongous boom in AI, in technological stuff, in internet stuff, in all of that, right? And we know that world of things can, just like anything else, can serve a really beautiful purpose, and also has a very strong potential of going really haywire. So I think my sense is that part of why the spirit world has guided me to have an app is that is to use that energy for good, right? So this app is, it's kind of like, if you know, like Facebook or whatever, but it's only positivity, zero ads. Nobody's getting paid for anything. You know, it's totally free. I mean, well, I have to pay for it, um but it's yeah, it's meant to be a safe, uh what's the word they're using? A It's meant to be a safe haven. That's the word they're saying right now. It's meant to be a safe space for soul community to come together. You know, if you want to scroll on something, come scroll on this. It'll be a whole lot better than
Some of
the
the other,
other
yeah.
options out there. Yeah, and right.
And
So
do
if
people
anything,
set them, sorry, excuse me, do people set themselves up like as a profile? Is that how you do it? You join it and
yeah,
then you're there and then, okay. So
yeah,
people come together like say an Instagram for want of a better way. Okay. And share.
yeah. Right. You can connect. Yeah, you can post like people are in there posting photos of like the, you know, if they live in Ireland or something, their beautiful garden, or they went to the ocean, um or people in you know, I've a lot of clients in Australia and New Zealand, and they're posting, you know, their view of the full moon with the blah 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 constellation, and just really like amazing, beautiful sharing going on in there. And of course the people who gravitate toward me are like you and like me, and we're having these big awakening rememberings of who we are, and so people are sharing in there about that kind of thing. That's what it's meant to be. It's a safe place to be who
Yes.
you are in this,
And it
yeah, in
feels
this.
like it can accelerate maybe what's happening. It gives sort of a momentum to this. If we're all on our own a little bit, trying to do this, it can be, you can get a little bit knocked off course and then you're sort of out of action for a while as you recover and then you're back again. But even just having that sort of energetic connection, I found like that was the first group I found. I didn't find any group before that I felt was sort of felt right for me or just didn't really resonate. It was the first. And I went, okay, there's something in this. And there was huge grief in the very first session for so many of the women. It was a small group, but it was so powerful because there was a space there for them to feel what they needed to feel, even if they
Mhm.
didn't know. We didn't have words really for it, but the minute you said them, and I just got this word exiled a few weeks ago, and I was, oh, exiled parts are coming back. What's that? I must ask someone. I feel it, but so it's really good to hear you say that because you speaking that and whoever listens, hopefully you'll go, okay, that's making sense. Because I think we're all trying to make sense of what's happening to me. Um, so yeah, thank you for sharing that, Martha. And just moving to the sort of let's say in a year or two, what this empowered, returned parts, fully remembered woman and person can look like, and for men as well, because it is obviously within the men, the energy, feminine energy. What's your feelings about it?
Yeah,
Give life to it a bit.
yeah, I'm gonna take just a minute and feel it, because it's a new energy for me too, right? Um, well, one thing that I'm in currently feeling with all of that, my own shifting of it, it's part of my own learning edge in my own lifetime. I mean, my Lilith, the asteroid, exactly to the degree squares my nodes. So it's a powerful part of my own journey. So I'll just name that, just give
Mm,
that big caveat, right? To be really honest with that. Um, but a big part of what I'm currently, I can feel those root systems of the time of forgetting, like releasing out of my own body so powerfully just in the last few days. And one of the big shifts happening for me, and I think is a collective thing also, huge amount of potential if, as we do this together, is that, like I was saying before we were recording, I know we have been trained to, in a sense, you could say, to go along with gaslighting, with being gaslit for eons. And I am suddenly in my own body, in my own self. It's like the structures of um being the feminine who would lie down for Adam, who would say, "Oh, I don't exist. I don't really need anything. I'm fine. I'm good. My Pisces sun in my seventh house, oh, yeah, whatever the man needs, just be that thing, whatever that, it's like now, how there's alcoholics sometimes take the medication antabuse, and then when they drink alcohol they throw up. Like they literally can't tolerate it. That's kind of how I'm feeling these days. Is It's like the structures of my own being are shifting so powerfully that when I now come into a situation that even slightly smells of an out of balance sort of, place where I might be expected to accept being gaslit, or gaslighting myself, or whatever it is, I feel actually sick. Like I actually feel like I'm going to throw up.
Mm,
So,
mm,
so I'm in the middle of the shift, right? So it's a little hard for me to fully get
yeah.
it, what it will be like on the other side. But to whatever extent I can feel it, and I've gone through, I think we've all gone through waves of this kind of healing over and over and over again. So it's like we're in the spiral going up, and I'm circling around to another level up. So it's not like I'm in the beginning, but I'm in the midst of another upward movement. So given what I've already done and what I can feel and imagine, what I feel in that is, on the other side of it, yeah, my soul, my spirit lands fully in my body. It is boom. And I feel it actually in my pelvic bones. It's like my full soul just lands boom straight into my pelvic bones, literally. And then my whole spirit, my whole soul, who is my sense of her. I mean, I can feel her. She's right here, right now. I mean, she's me.
Mm,
But she's, I would say, a dark and light goddess. And she's compassion itself. She is the love and the power of existence itself. She's incredibly fierce, but also deeply loving. So when I feel her land like that, then it's like the Piscean part of me still is there, but I also I'm very clear. I'm very um I'm very embodied, and I absolutely know exactly what is mine to do, and I do it, and I have compassion. And yet it's kind of like anything and everything that's out of balance, suddenly I see kind of like a toddler, like I might with, like, I have two kids and I used to be a child therapist. So it's like, if you see a 2-year-old throwing a tantrum, you don't get involved with it. You don't like get down on their level and start screaming with them, right? You just go, okay, I see you throwing a tantrum. I'll be over here when you're done. But the answer is still no. Like, I'm not going to give you the cookie. That's not going to happen. Um, my boundaries are what they are. I'm very clear about my sacred yes, my sacred no. And yet I love you. You're adorable and cute, and it's so great you have cute little pudgy cheeks, and and I'm not going to get involved with that tantrum. You get the sense of what I'm describing.
yes, Yes, I am. Yeah, really, really getting the sense of that. Yeah, I've been feeling the same way now. Even I can hardly put words to it because it's all going on. But it has that feeling of, okay, here I am in another up, I would say an up leveling or whatever it is, but something. And the words that really stick with me is a sacred yes and a sacred no. I think that's because of what you talk about there, this sort of gaslighting, and we do it to ourselves. Oh, we can't say no, and you need to be a good person and be kind and be nice. And but what I'm experiencing is like you, there's more of me that seems to have arrived in that's going, no, what you were doing before. No, we're saying a no to this now. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm on board here now. So I'm in charge here now.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel what the image I often get, well, not often, I just got it recently, is I'm sort of walking through the forest. I'm like, I have a big tunic on me and a rope tied around it, and I'm barefoot, and I can feel this pounding on the forest, like a really strong pounding, like through my body. And I've a big Irish wolfhound dog on one side of me. I'm not sure what they really maybe spiritually symbolize, but I need to, but he's like, he's with me, he's huge. And there's sort of a Merlin-y type character on the other side. And as we walk through the forest, in the trees are all these serpents hissing, and they're like hissing at us, hitting it. And we just keep going. It came up actually in the women's circle I was in. We keep going, we keep going, we keep going, and we get to the center and sort of cast out. We do a sort of a ceremony or a ritual. And then as we leave the forest after that, we walk back. All of that has just receded, that sort of little hissing noises. As we walk through together, there's three of us. It's just like yeah, they've just all receded, but it's done in a very, it's just the presence and the power. There's none of that. Yeah, sniping, or I don't know. It's just the presence. It's holding, isn't it? It's holding. And when you're around people, like if you're listening and going, what is she talking about, walking through a forest with her wolfhound? But I just go, like, you walk into a room and we feel these things, and we've been taught not to trust them. I think this is where I feel it's, I don't know, Martha, maybe you've been on this journey a lot longer, but for me, the biggest shift has been really trusting how I feel, trusting what I'm sensing. And it strikes me always that trauma has kept us from feeling, which has kept us from sensing. It's like another, isn't it? It's a layer down, a layer down, a layer down. And we have that, this is part of it, isn't it? Maybe this is the grief, is it recovering, excavating all of that out? So we land, like you described, like we land so fully. I keep feeling I'm going down further in the elevator, and they're going, "You have to go down another floor." And I go, "No, I'm gone to the, no, you haven't." Like you describe landing on the pelvic bones, it's like, no, you're not fully in yet.
Wow. That's
Either.
hmm. I
Mm-mm.
love everything you just said. That's wow.
Well, we're landing together. We're all landing together.
That
So
literally.
it's not,
Yeah.
is it? Don't jump out.
No, we have to. We have to. We're doing it and we have to do it.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have
And it's good we keep talking about it. Sometimes I feel, oh my God, saying the same things, but it's like we've been told so many other things. So we have to keep, this really needs a lot of, well, for me it does. Anyways, I'm a slow learner. A lot of repetition, because we're in
to.
uncharted territory, really, aren't we? We have to trust. I'll give final words to you. I'm sorry, I know you've a class now as well, and I don't want to take up any more of your
Yeah.
time. And I'd love to stay, but maybe we'll do another session another
Mhm.
time. But would you just some final words maybe to for people that you'd like to leave them with on this
Yeah. I
week?
think, yeah, the one thing I do feel like I really want to say is another thing that I find absolutely crucial in my work and the space I hold for people and all of that is one of the things that I find the most difficult or I get really sad about is we have been in this mode of again outsourcing our power in toward gurus, toward spiritual teachers, toward people we look up to, right? Which on the one hand is beautiful. It's beautiful to have models. It's beautiful to have role models, I mean. Um like the Pam Gregorys and the Melanie Reinhardts and the, Heather Ensworth. Absolutely, all three of those would, for me, be my
Mm.
role models, big time. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
They're wonderful. I love them. They're beautiful and each in their own ways. Absolutely. And um and I just keep getting this image as you're talking about walking through the forest and your spirit beings there with you and all of that. It's like we are, every single one of us is an ancient, literally an ancient wisdom keeper being of existence. We literally are. Okay. That is, our bodies are made of Gaia. Gaia is 4.5 billion years old. That is so much older than most of the stars. Our star, the sun, is 4.5 billion years old. Our moon is 4.5 billion years old, and our earth is 4.5 billion years old. Most of the stars are, like 10 million years old, 100 million. They're old. But we, our Earth, our sun, our moon are many times older. I mean, so much older. Like Deneb, the star in Cygnus, the tail of the swan in Cygnus, beautiful, amazing star, 10 million years old compared to us, 4.5 billion years old. So there's this something that we have even exiled ourselves, and in a sense of I think we think of ourselves as very young, very immature, like there's some, like we're less than the rest of the cosmos in some way or something. No, 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 wait, whoa, whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. We are equally important to absolutely everything else. We are everything else, right? And so if I have this image of our full soul being selves, if we could even just get a glimpse of how amazing every single one of us are, and then imagine all the totality of that beautiful ancient soul being that each of us are, just going choop and like jumping and coming fully back onto the planet, like every single one of us, boom, right? Like being right here. Ugh. I mean, that's literally,
wow.
that's what we're doing. That is what's happening. But just
Wow.
imagine that, right? And the only thing holding it back, the only thing is ourself, literally. So let's not hold ourselves back. Let's just do it. Like right now, we're doing it.
Let's do, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I got a message from someone. I was doing a card reading or something, and it was something about taking a risk. It's like there's nothing to lose. I don't know. It's taking a risk of
Yeah.
just doing it. No more plot. What if and if I did that? No, it's like if you don't. Well, I think I don't know what there is no alternative. It feels like
Yeah.
kicking and
Yeah.
screaming, but let's enjoy it. Like this can
Yeah.
be, yeah, yeah. And when we meet, I think that's a thing in me, like even meeting you across the screen energetically, when you meet eye to eye, so like that, you feel it, and it's like it can bring it brings more of me in talking to you, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
More of me
Same.
goes, oh, it's safe to come in. Okay, come on in. So that's why it feels so important. It's like in seeing and that in each other, that's how we do it, isn't it? We really, yeah, we really help anchor that in. Um, that is beautiful. I didn't know that about Earth and Gaia. No wonder I kept feeling this image. It's like thumping on the forest floor. Like you're not in anger, but it's just like we're one. Like it was just raw. I am taking this back. It was so yeah, so powerful. Thank you so much, Martha. My God, that was phenomenal, phenomenal. Thank you so much. Thank you. I will put all of your contact details, your website, and all of your links that you mentioned, and to your books and those. You've 8 books for anyone who wants to get them. And thank you so much for your time today. Hopefully, we can do it again another time. When the calling comes, we'll hear it from the forest.
Very good. I would love that.
Take care.
Thank
Take care, everyone. And thank you so much for listening and being here with us today.